that you'll be able to see that later. We'll post those Zoom links on our Hatch page once they're available, but you will be able to go back and see some of the other presentations that you've missed. We culminate the afternoon with the celebration of our scholarly work. So, this is just a fabulous way to celebrate what we do here at Ferris in terms of academic innovation, creativity work, our celebrating our scholarly work, bringing together both Ferris work, Kendall, in one day of kind of celebration. Of course, this will go down forever as the COVID day, since we'll be sitting in front of Zoom all day as we kind of navigate this. Couple quick thank yous before I pass this off. The Hatch planning team for putting this all together, the innovation advisory team for assisting in every step of the way here, and Brooke, who's put this all together. I know she's embarrassed right now, but that's okay. As we talked, I think we started chatting this morning about 5:30, so but that's okay. We'll wrap it up sometime tonight and be done with it. But just what a wonderful way for us to celebrate what we do here at Ferris. And like I said, the sessions already this morning were fantastic. So as we move through the day, we expect nothing less. Also know we've got tech support and facilitators in each one of the Zoom sessions. So if you've got some sort of tech issue or something like that, we can't help you with Spectrum, but we can help you with whatever connection might be problems you're having at Ferris here. So you see John over there at the control center. He's ready to Zoom right in there and help us out. So we think we've come up with fixes for anything that might happen today, but it is technology. And some of these Zooms and some of these films, you will see some delays. That's just, part of the Zoom world we're in. We saw the documentary this morning had some, hesitation in as it comes across. So that's just part of what we're gonna experience. So I think that's all I wanted to say. I now would like to turn it over to President Eisler, who's going to talk to us a little bit about innovation.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you to everyone who helped prepare for today, and thank you to everyone who's attending. I think the important part about innovation is sharing it, because we need to understand what each other is doing. As I was thinking about innovation today, I wanted to take this time to look back at the history of innovation that Ferris has, and that really goes right back to our founder. And I'm going to share a few slides with you that I think might be interesting. And when we talk about Mr. and Mrs. Ferris, I think sometimes we forget the piece that how entrepreneurial they were at this time. They'd gone to Oswego Normal School up in upper state New York, and there they were very much influenced by Johann Pestalozzi. The idea of Pestalozzian philosophy is about learning by doing. And I think that's something we still celebrate today. We know the story of how Mr. and Mrs. Ferris began with 15 students, but we don't always talk about how they started an evening school, and by the end of the first term, they had 50 students. And while we began as a place where students could receive the equivalent of a high school education, 18 months, Mr. Ferris soon developed a commercial or business curriculum. And to do this, he learned shorthand so he could teach it. This is a picture of the model business room that Mr. Ferris had in his school. And this is actually from probably 1930, but the room looks the same. You can look back in the corner on the side, those are teller booths. And so Mr. Ferris had people actually practice what they were going to do in business, what they were going to do in their commercial positions when they graduated. I think most of us know that pharmacy has been a part of Ferris since the early 1890s. And it happened when a young man from Barrington came to Mr. Ferris and asked him to prepare for the pharmacy examination. And from that, Mr. Ferris developed a pharmacy program. And I think these pictures are quite unique. These were put together by pharmacy students for the 75th anniversary of the founding of the program. And they show Marius Praise, his registration document, and some of the equipment they were using at this time. A wonderful part of our heritage at Ferris. Mr. Ferris didn't just innovate in curriculum, he innovated in his building. When he built Old Main in 1893, he installed indoor plumbing, flush toilets. Only problem was they didn't work very well. In fact, Mr. Ferris talked about how they smelled no better than the outdoor facilities, and he threatened to take his toilets outside. In 1895, he hooked up some lighting at Ferris. Unfortunately, that didn't work so well. But finally, he solved the sewer piece. They had a sewer line constructed up to the building and ran down to the river. It cost $600 back when that was done. Mrs. Ferris was an educator. In fact, when Mrs. Ferris passed away, what Mr. Ferris said at her wake was that if there's a teacher of teachers, the Ferris Institute, it's Helen Gillespie Ferris. And we were one of the first places to be offering kindergarten classes for youngsters. This emphasis upon early elementary education was an innovation of the Ferris Institute. I think some of us know the story of how when the telegraph came to town, Mr. Ferris had telegraph wires strung up to Old Main, and he taught telegraphy. And you know, I didn't think much about telegraphy until I was getting some help with this research, but Mr. Ferris said you could learn how to do telegraphy in about 6 months if you practice 10 hours a day. And he demanded that telegraph operators learn spelling, writing, mental arithmetic, typewriting, and bookkeeping. Many of us have been reading this wonderful book by Dave Pilgrim and Franklin Hughes, talking about Haste to Rise, and the incredible impact that Mr. Ferris had beginning in about 1908, where he had African males come to the Ferris Institute, especially a number of people from the Hampton Institute. We served as a college preparatory experience for them. And then they went on to major universities throughout the Midwest, became leaders in their field. I think there's a great example of what Mr. Ferris did here in terms of reaching out and making a difference that applies directly to who we are and what we should be today. And then I don't know how many people knew that the Ferris Institute had a hospital. And this was established in 1918. And it was pretty important at the time because the Big Rapids Hospital had burned down. It was actually the third time the hospital burned down in Big Rapids. And when they talk about only one death in 2 years, you need to remember what was happening in 1918, because that was the Spanish flu pandemic, H1N1. At that point, 500 million people were infected in the world. And 500 million doesn't sound like a lot today, but that was 1/3 of the world's population. 50 million people died, 675,000 in the United States. And you think about the direct implication on what we're doing today and the work that you're doing to keep our students and our campus safe during this pandemic. And finally, I want to salute you. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for being innovative. Thank you for being creative. Thank you for making a difference for Ferris. And I want to close with this and hand it over to our next presenters, but I think what's happening today at Ferris State University is significant and important. Thank you so much for making a difference.
Thank you, President Eisler, and welcome everyone. Following up on President Eisler's remarks, it has really amazed me since arriving here in July of how much our students, our faculty, our staff, our administration take great pride in learning by doing and applied learning. And I thank President Eisler for continuing to bring us back to our roots and I also want to thank you for reaching out and making a difference, and for attending today and looking at familiar faces across Zoom. And many of you have only had an opportunity to meet via Zoom, and I look forward to the opportunity to meet you in person. And I also want to thank you for keeping our students and our campus safe. The story that we have this year is nothing short of remarkable in terms of a campus with resilience and a campus that continues to persevere with the implementation of our strategic plan and all the other initiatives, including Hatched. It was only about 2 days ago I realized it was Hatched and not Hatch Ed. So I'm glad that I got that right for today. Brooke, I want to thank you, Amy Green, EIO, the leadership of Dean Reifert, the colleges, the faculty, students, and staff for all of your work in this essential area of the academy, and that is creating new knowledge that helps to drive our mission forward. This year is very special, and it's very special because of the recent approval of funding for the Center for Virtual Learning that we're looking at opening around January of 2023. If we talk about an opportunity to be a leader in the state and a leader in the nation, this is one of those opportunities that will distinguish us, just like today does, with all the sharing of knowledge and innovation that we're going to experience today. And as Woodbridge Ferris said, and I quote, "It is your place as a teacher to feed mental hunger." And the intent here is not only to feed mental hunger, but to create an environment where everyone is encouraged to collaborate, listen with open minds, and be able to explore what may come when innovative and remarkable ideas originate or are reinvigorated. Looking at today's schedule of events, and I'm going to try to get to as many as I possibly can. We have almost 40 presentations by faculty throughout the colleges in Kendall College of Art and Design at Ferris State University. And the categories run across 4 tracks: exploration, innovation, creation, recreation, and education tracks. And I'm going to mention several of the presentations that hopped off the page to me as I was reviewing the materials for today. If I don't mention presentations, it's not because I didn't notice it or I don't value it. It's just I could talk for more than the 8 minutes allotted. One that hopped off the page was Paul Zuby's Publishing Your Work, Moving Ideas to the World. A great example of practical applied learning. Kaylee Moreno and Dr. Michael Berghoef, Promesa Adelante, Increasing Latinx Research Engagement. John Scott Gray, and I found this particularly interesting as well. And John's presentation will be on What Would Plato Read? And one that's particularly interesting to me, and I know that it's particularly interesting to Dr. Alspach, and that is the esports panel discussion, which I'm sure that several of us are looking forward to. And one final one that I'd like to mention is How Scholarly Work Can Fuel Innovation by Dr. Rosen and Dr. Rubel. And those are just a few of the very interesting, provocative, innovative presentations that we have today. One of the strengths of our university is the strategic plan. and under the leadership of Dr. David Pilgrim, Vice President of Diversity, Inclusion, and Strategic Initiatives, and Dr. Spence Tower, they really laid the groundwork for innovation and for scholarly work. And we look at strategic goals that that are set forth in terms of balancing distinctive and comprehensive programs and offering educational experiences that blend theory and practice, allowing graduates to flourish in our dynamic global society. And this is an action step. This is an action step in convening the annual Hatched Conference. And this is a wonderful example, a quantifiable example of innovation, creativity, and scholarly work. And I would also like to mention the innovation development grants, and in particular, the 3 grants that were granted this year, 2 in the fall and 1 in the spring. The 2 in the fall were Building the Autonomous Vehicles Program at Ferris by Dr. Abushark and Dr. Leonard, grant for $9,900. And to learn more about their work, they have an 11 o'clock presentation here. And the second grant funded in the fall is Foundations of Behavioral Health and Social Justice course by Dr. Sotheby, Dr. Walters, and Dr. Stone. And that was an $8,500 grant. And similar to those grants, the one that was granted recently in the spring, and I'm proud to announce the Clinical Skills Trainer grant for $3,000 by Lena Westerkamp, Shannon Love, and Pam Smith. And I would like to congratulate all the faculty members and the staff members for the work that you're doing, and for participating today, and for everybody who is in attendance today and throughout the day. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to make remarks.
Thank you, Bobby. And I want to follow up on the history of Hatched. A lot of people probably don't know where the term Hatched came from for this kind of an innovation fair. 10 years ago, then Provost Fritz Erickson initiated an opportunity for grant funding called the Academic Incubator. And the sports communication program was the preemie. We were the first grant recipient to start something innovative under the Academic Incubator. Follow the dots. For over a decade, we've been working on innovation at Ferris State, and now we are hatching new ideas and celebrating those new ideas. So in the second annual Hatched Conference, we are following a long tradition of being innovators in education and programming at Ferris State University. I'm proud as the president of the Academic Senate to welcome you and be a co-sponsor of this initiative. And we know that attending Zoom conferences can be a little different from our usual experiences, our historical experiences. So we thought we'd give you some coaching on how to effectively participate in a Zoom conference in a fun way. So we put together a video from the Innovative Advisory Team, and we hope you enjoy this.
Good morning. I'm here with members of the Innovation Advisory Team, and we are excited to share with you tips for attending a Zoom conference.
Aloha. Although you may love your officially licensed shark hat and your snappy Hawaiian shirt, leave them in the closet. Bring them out for the next beach bash.
We know you're in back-to-back Zoom meetings, and there are lunch and learn sessions built into the conference. Bottom line, at some point, you're going to have to eat. Just please make sure to turn off your microphone and camera while enjoying those chips.
On that same note, to try to minimize background noise, it's helpful sometimes to wear earbuds or headphones. That can kind of help with that. Also, make sure you turn off your email notifications so they don't make a noise as all that's going on. Oh yeah, and don't forget about your cell phone. Make sure to silence your cell phone as well.
We love your participation in the conference. So if you'd like to participate.
Hey, Kelly, you're muted.
Kelly, you're muted.
Muted.
So make sure that you are unmuted when you want to speak and participate, and then please mute again when you're done speaking. We would love to hear your voice.
If you have other people or animals in your house, have a chat with them about the fact that you're attending a conference. This may minimize interruptions or make it worse.
Grab yourself a beverage for hydration, preferably one with a lid. I've spilled an entire glass of water on my computer before, and it's really hard to recover from that. I remember this one time at band camp.
Hey, but Jody, I know you think what you're saying is really important, but this thought just drifted in my head. And I think it's really important to share with everyone right now. But seriously, interruptions happen. To minimize this, try to use the chat feature or raise hand feature. Talking louder over someone is generally not good practice.
And sometimes your internet may be unstable, so you may have to drift in and drift out. But make sure you have a neutral background and you're not showering or driving while you're on camera. You can utilize a virtual background like this one. We hope these tips have been helpful. Enjoy the day, and thank you for coming.
Helpful tips. So again, welcome to Hatchet. My name is Michael Berghoef, and I'm a member of the Innovation Advisory Team and the Vice President of the Academic Senate. And we're now going to make a shift to our keynote presentation, Shaping the Culture of Innovation. Presenting, we have Dr. Thomas Dowling, who's a professor and assistant dean for professional development and research in the College of Pharmacy. And he also serves as the director of the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs here at Ferris. He will be joined by a special guest, Denise Graves. We're thankful that she has taken the time to be with us. Denise is a proud Ferris graduate and serves as the University Relations Director at the Michigan Economic Development Corporation's Entrepreneurship and Innovations Initiative. And at this time, I'd like to turn things over to Tom.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate the introduction, and it's great to be here to join with the stage here with Denise Graves, who we've been working together for the past 5+ years or so, in terms of looking at resources that the Michigan Economic Development Corp has to help with our innovations across campus, and really kind of as director of the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs here at Ferris, I have an amazing opportunity to see kind of the landscape of things that are coming through the pipeline as far as good ideas that are turning into grant applications and innovations that are turning into intellectual property and things like that. It's really just an exciting time to be here at Ferris, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and kind of adding to some of the comments already made about our founders, Helen and Woodbridge Ferris, and their really founding of Ferris on innovations, and looking back, almost 100 years ago now, looking at the autobiography of Woodbridge and a couple of the speeches that were put together for the U.S. Senate. He mentioned many times the importance of research and innovation, and really early days of the Department of Education, and talking about how important it is to move things forward. And looking at innovation in things like, if things are new, how can they be done in the best ways possible? And then if they're old, how can we do them in better ways? And so really today's conference fits with those early visions really nicely. And it's just amazing to see all these examples of great innovation. More recently, gosh, probably 20 years ago or so, Clayton Christensen really kind of coined the term disruptive innovation in higher ed, and started to ask those questions about how can higher ed innovate and create sustainable models going forward in ways that we can do things in new ways Things like how can curriculums change and how can we convert or pivot to online and e-learning types of methods, and how can we do things like using campus spaces in new ways and capture things like intellectual property in ways that can help, open up doors to diversifying revenue streams and things like that. So many universities have been looking at ways to innovate and do this. Ferris is doing many of these. There's lots of examples of innovations in higher education, things that we're going to talk about throughout the day today. Many examples of these types of things like maker spaces, and we saw a great tour this morning by Luke Hedman of the maker space and how students are solving problems in that space. But things like tuition models and using new types of technology like virtual reality. And we'll talk today and hear about a grant by the USDA on how folks are using VR, but new ways to teach. How do students learn now? How do we create new types of textbooks and the different learning processes that take place? And many of these are around kind of sustainable revenue streams that going forward, these are things that really all universities are looking at in terms of how to capture that innovation and make things better for the university and the community. One of the nice things about Ferris, there's many great opportunities for students, and what's happened at Ferris is students are the core of a lot of this innovation that we're going to hear about today. And what's happening is we're creating a vibrant intellectual community for those students to be engaged in, and that community has a web of things, including faculty and campus partners and partnerships that we're creating with the outside community and stakeholders, really with the innovation mindset at the core of all of that. But those students are really exposed and a critical part of all that innovation that's taking place. They're helping us learn more about how they learn and what are some of the technologies that are easier for them to acquire and things like that. So just an amazing, vibrant place for students to be in here at Ferris. I'm going to just comment on a couple things. Like Provost Fleischman mentioned, looking through the program today, just so many great examples of all of these things happening. But in the teaching and learning space, some of the innovations happening there, like was mentioned, the virtual reality space and using headsets around STEM education and dual enrollment in high school students in rural environments, and Dee Dee Stakely and Tracy Russo and Andrew Peterson are going to talk about the grant that they received from the U.S. Department of Agriculture around how to use that technology in rural high schools and bring them into Ferris. Gosh, the e-learning and course design is just unlimited numbers of things happening there. In the assessment space, we'll talk about that, some of that to be talked about today. And then the innovation development grants that were mentioned that are focusing on new programs and curricular innovations that happen right at the within our existing programs, new programs being created, as well as graduate and certificate types of programs and badging that's taking place. It really goes without saying, the creative design piece of Ferris is really, I would say, in our sweet spot, in our wheelhouse. Gosh, KCAD has many things that they'll talk about, and Jonathan Maroney has discussed some of those things at the Spark meeting recently. But just so many exciting things happening there. That makerspace that's in, I have College of Engineering Technology listed here, but like Luke had mentioned earlier today, it's really student space that is really they own that space and they really work that space, and it's really exciting to see how the dynamics of that is how that's all playing out. But certainly 3D printing as being a core of some of those activities, but certainly not all those activities. And then the exciting things going on in the autonomous vehicles program that is a partnership between the College of Business and Engineering Technology, and we're going to hear about that here today as well from our faculty that are working in that space. The healthcare innovations, as President Eisler mentioned, the Ferris was an innovator in the health space early on with the College of Pharmacy and having a hospital and things like that. But there are some things happening right now that are really leading the nation in what we're doing at Ferris. And just a couple things to highlight here today. We'll hear about the opioid network called the Cameron that was created. It's really an innovative way that Ferris has created a network to prevent for both prevention and education around opioid use disorder. That project was funded by HRSA in 2020 for a 3-year project. And we're really leading the state and the nation in some of those activities. And we'll hear about that later today. There are some things adding to the early pharmacy innovations right now, things in the community pharmacy space, things like point of care testing. Many times when you go to the pharmacies now, you're going to see there's testing for influenza, now COVID testing, many other types of things. Ferris faculty, Dr. Mike Klepser, Dr. Michelle Saar, and others are leading the way in some of the innovations around this testing happening right in the community pharmacies. And we're national leaders in that area. Immunizations is another area where we're leading, and some of our faculty help design the innovation and immunization training programs that are used by pharmacies across the US. There's a grant right now that Dr. Michelle Saar has from MDHHS on looking at cardiovascular healthcare in community pharmacies. And that's an innovative model that's really important and could be scalable across the US. And lastly here, to point out, Dr. Minji Sohn is leading the way in dashboards that incorporate data analytics into healthcare, and particularly in antibiotic tracking in community settings, which is often unnoticed, but happens across like physicians' offices and things like that, where they're not quite sure what types of antibiotics are being used, and Minji's group is able to help track some of those trends and help with antibiotic usage out in the community. The last couple of comments here are in the area of the discovery research space. Our mission and vision includes discovery, and really that's been happening all along at Ferris. It's coming somewhat to the forefront now with some of the research that's being done in that healthcare kind of drug design space. Examples like in the Michigan College of Optometry, the Vision Research Institute, the research that's happening there, looking at new ways to address problems in the eye and contact lenses, for example, as well as inventions like Dr. Daniel Taylor will talk about at the 10 o'clock session about his invention working with engineering technology and product design about a device that's going to help people that have implantable hearing devices. Within the College of Pharmacy, we have some novel drug design taking place. New drugs, new platforms that have never been looked at before are parts of patent applications right now, as well as federal funding at the national level by the NIH and NSF. That's leading to intellectual property and potential down the road for licensing and revenue, and potentially, really new drugs literally being designed at Ferris State for the first time. And so, that's opening up all kinds of new avenues of potential, and certainly requires resources to really nurture that and grow that. And one of the key partners in all of that, really across universities, is the Michigan Economic Development Corp, or MEDC. And very fortunate to have Denise Graves here join us today to talk about some of those resources that are available for Ferris and other state universities faculty that have intellectual property that is really kind of bubbling up through the system, and how many resources they have to support that. And with that, like to go ahead and turn it over to Denise, and again, thank her for being here today to provide some comments as well.
Thank you, Tom. Good morning, fellow Bulldogs. Thank you, President Eisler, Provost Fleischman, respective deans, faculty, and students. It's a pleasure to join you today for Hatched, what I would consider a celebration of entrepreneurship and innovation, as you have mentioned. I thoroughly enjoyed my time spent at Ferris, and my accounting degree that I received there years ago, we won't name how many, has served me well. I've had the pleasure of working with Tom for a number of years. I think he mentioned 5 years now. Boy, time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it, Tom? I've had an opportunity to also meet some of you while on campus back in the fall of 2017. It seems like, just a few months ago, but it's been a while now. And I brought along a bunch of other university partners to talk about statewide programs and how Ferris can participate. Having been at the MEDC for 10 years and in my role as university relations, I have the pleasure of working directly with all of the universities across the state in their effort to translate research into the commercial market. Now, you may think that this work is only related to the large R1 universities in the state, such as University of Michigan, Michigan State, or Wayne State. However, over the last few years, I've seen increasing support and activity coming from universities such as Ferris out of Oakland, Western, Northern, Central, and Grand Valley. In addition to some of the great work that is happening, as Tom mentioned, and with great encouragement and mentoring from the larger institutions. So let's take a moment to review the subway map. I think, Brooke, you're going to pop that up for me, or Tom, as we take a look at some of the resources available from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. The MEDC and its entrepreneurship and innovation team receives $15 million annually from the state budget. And as you see here, a number of programs that we support. We'll spend most of our time talking a little bit about the university programs, and then I will make all of this information available to you for further review. There are 3 key programs that support efforts of faculty within a university to further their research towards commercialization. The first program is the Advanced Proof of Concept Fund that provides matching funds for early proof of concept work on technology advancement. In a few moments, you'll hear from Eric, Sonali, and Daniel, who've had the opportunity to further their work through this program. And I would like to take a moment to congratulate them on their work. I've been rooting for them all along, and it's been very exciting to see Ferris participate with other universities like the University of Michigan, Michigan State, Wayne State, Western, and Grand Valley. And I think my university partners get a little tired of me sometimes rooting for the Bulldogs, but they just should get used to it. The second program is the T3N, the Tech Transfer Talent Network. And this program supports mentors and residents who assist projects along the journey to the commercial market. And I think, the team at Ferris, Eric, Sonali, maybe even Daniel, have had the support of a couple of mentors through this program and helping them through customer discovery and commercialization. In addition to mentors, this program also hosts roundtable discussions within the universities across the state to discuss what we would consider the business of technology transfer. And Tom participates and is a great partner within this network on behalf of Ferris. And finally, the third and probably the largest program is the MTRAC program. This is the Michigan Translational Research and Commercialization Program, which is a statewide network with 5 innovation hubs in key technology sectors, including life science and advanced transportation that is hosted at the University of Michigan. There's advanced computing hosted at Wayne State, ag bio hosted at Michigan State, and finally advanced materials hosted at Michigan Tech. Now, these universities play host to these key programs, and any university across the state, as well as hospital system and nonprofit research center, can apply into the program for matching funds as well. The key success of the MTRAC program is the Oversight Committee, who reviews and votes on project funding. The oversight committees are comprised of industry and investment professionals who provide guided feedback to the proposals, as well as mentorship to funded projects for market entry and customer validation. And as a side, the MTRAC and T3N programs have won the gold and silver awards respectively from the International Economic Development Council in the category of public and private partnerships with educational institutions. And I've had the pleasure of speaking with a number of states about our programs here in Michigan and how we support our university partners who play a key role in economic development for our state. Now, over and above the university programs, you'll see that we support smart zones. There are 21 smart zones across the state of Michigan that are ready to help our small businesses and startups. We also support mentoring and knowledge for applying to SBIRs and STTRs, as well as matching funds. We support the SBDC, who provides free counseling to startups and small businesses. And then we have a few programs that support early stage funding before the customers pay or even before angel and venture capital. In addition to these key programs, there are several other opportunities for Ferris to participate in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, such as attending events on SBIR and STTR grants, fundraising, customer discovery, such as I-Corps, along with internships and pitch competitions for the students. With a statewide pitch competition coming up in November, and I'll make sure that all of the information on that is shared. And the MEDC is a lead sponsor, and I will be a judge, and I hope to see some Ferris students participating in that. This morning, I was excited to have an opportunity to receive a virtual tour of the makerspace, and I'm working on a side project to help build a network of makerspaces within colleges and universities to become more of an integral partner of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. As you can see, the state of Michigan and the MEDC takes entrepreneurship and innovation very seriously, and we always measure our success with the high-tech business starts, job growth, and follow-on funding investments. This effort is important to the growth and diversification of our state economy, with support from Governor Whitmer and Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, who is very passionate about entrepreneurship, and he's a great guy to work with. My goal has been to ensure that all 15 public universities are participating and have a seat at the table. It took me a bit of time to find the lead at Ferris, and lucky for Tom, once I found him, he couldn't hide. And it's been a fun, great relationship working with Tom in support of innovation and entrepreneurship at Ferris. It's been a long journey with great forward progress. However, we can always do more. Investing in entrepreneurship and innovation takes significant commitment and investment and resources to support it. However, it can provide significant returns such as experiential learning for the students, intellectual property, faculty research getting licensed to industry, startup creation, sponsored research projects with corporate partners, and additional funding from federal grant programs. I applaud how far my alma mater has come in this effort, and at the same time, I encourage you to stretch and reach further by continuing to foster and support entrepreneurship and innovation to faculty and students, even perhaps alumni. What if there was an innovation fund that provided an opportunity for alumni to donate funds to support innovation across campus? The sky is the limit. Entrepreneurship is a team sport, and as you can see, there are several resources available to support you throughout the process, not only from MEDC programs, but it also includes the university network across the state, which is a strong one and is always happy to lend a hand. I look forward when we can to join you on campus to continue the conversation and to celebrate your progress in support of entrepreneurship and innovation. You will have my contact information, and if there is anything I can do to help, please reach out. Thank you for your time today. Enjoy the rest of the day, and go dogs.
All right, thank you, Denise and Tom. So thank you all for coming to our opening session. At this time, all our next concurrent sessions will start at 10 a.m. See you there.